Jessica Lagranzi, Marketing Coordinator here for the Kostef Arts and Crafts Center in Swakopmund. We started our journey in 2009 already, and as part of
In the news tonight, City of Windhoek secures 155 million Namibian dollar loan for new power substation to avoid load shedding.
The International University of Management, a Namibian university dedicated to its people's future, a hub of abundant opportunities.
We are IUM for life. We are IUM.
Good evening, I'm Maggie Forciero. In the news tonight, Education Ministry says upcoming census will address placement challenge. Kahungu denies divisions within City Council. Healthcare providers deliberate on enhancing services in rural areas. Business institutions need to allocate flood relief funds, says Vanani. And Business on One comments corner, sport and the weather. The Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture has welcomed the upcoming population and housing census, as it will help the ministry in addressing the challenges with learner placements in schools. According to the ministry, the census will assist them to better understand the population growth and improve placements for learners.
The shortage of space for learners has been a recurring problem for many regions, particularly for grade 1 and grade 8 learners. With the national census to be undertaken during the 2023-2024 financial year by the Namibia Statistics Agency, the Deputy Executive Director of Education, Eda Bon, spoke at a recent LPM educational seminar on challenges facing the secondary education. She further stated they will welcome the census as it will lead to a better school space provision.
We as a nation have to be more proactive and look at, if my child was born 3 years ago, in 2 years they are supposed to be in primary school, then, be proactive and secure your space. And only through that constant dialogue then we can, have the assessment. We are, as the Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture, we are really looking forward to the national census that's about to come, because that will help ourselves and the National Planning Commission to really identify the growth points and then to plan more proactively for the school space provision, because so far it is, just depending on this one-on-one interaction. And again, the unique identifier, if it is known earlier, these are the learners, they are now in ECD and pre-primary, they need to come over, then you have at least 2 to 3 years to create that.
At the same occasion, the Education Executive Director, Sanet Steenkamp, highlighted that a lot goes into the implementation of a new curriculum and requires a combined effort from all the stakeholders.
The ownership and the commitment to implement the curriculum. But there are preconditions that any country must have, and that coherent, consistent, well-articulated, meaningful, because we've got a beautiful curriculum. You can benchmark it against many other countries. And if we just put in the preconditions, everything should be falling into place. So what are they? First and foremost, every learner must attend a pre-primary school. We are now at 50% of learners attending pre-primary school. So as a government, as a nation, we should invest much more in pre-primary education. Secondly, Every child must have the textbooks and the materials. So there must be more budget availed for textbooks and materials. Another precondition for a successful implementation of a curriculum is that children are taught in their mother tongue. Now, in public service, that is why I could work for 18 years up north. As Namibians, you have the right to apply where you think you can contribute. But please, I caution, do not use certain regions and certain schools as stepping stones.
LPM hosted the seminar in Windhoek, where several stakeholders from the education sector discussed the difficulties the sector is facing.
SWAPO councillor at the city of Windhoek, Francina Kahungu, has denied division within the municipal council. This comes after the affirmative repositioning movement's Job Amupanda and Ilse Keister withdrew their nominations at last week's election. They were joined by Landless People's Movement councillor Sadei Governors and Ivan Skrevel. The Popular Democratic Movement councillor Clemencia Hanasses also retracted her nomination. The election also left the management committee with only 3 councillors, all from the SWAPO party, while there are supposed to be 5.
At last week's election for new office bearers, the ARPDM LPM announced that they will have their own programs and own management committee. This is despite the election of Joseph Wapingene as the mayor, deputized by SWAPO councillor Magdalena Pinar Lombard. News on One spoke to SWAPO councillor at City of Windhoek, Francina Kahungu, on the alleged divisions in the City of Windhoek Council. This comes after several members withdrew their nominations during the election. Despite this, Kahungu has denied that there is any disunity within the council.
Now, you just mentioned that some fellow councillors express their dissatisfaction and they have created the way forward. I must say that as I am speaking, as a member of council, we have not yet deliberated on such an issue, so I simply put that what you are saying is not yet tabled in front of council for deliberations. It is just not possible. Council is guided by the Local Authority Act 23 of 1992. There is no way, no section which indicates that management committee, they have to be 2. There is only one management committee for the Municipal Council of Windhoek.
Kahungu urged fellow councillors who want to come on board and avail themselves to join the MC so that they can run and render services to Windhoek residents at a full capacity.
I can tell you that already some of us have started working in the community. The past weekend I never rested. Since Saturday I was in the community, called by the community, and also do observations myself, is whereby I saw water being wasted, toilets not working, and you can see also that not having the full management committee members there, this does not necessarily prevent the councillors to go in the field and work. I would like to add that, or maybe just to remind again my fellow councillors and myself, when I sit in a council chamber, I must always remember that I am a representative, meaning that I am in a mission.
The Windhoek Municipal Council will hold a special council meeting this evening to fill the 2 vacancies in the management committee.
The Deputy Minister of Health and Social Services, Esther Munyangwe, stated that rural residents still face challenges accessing healthcare. Munyangwe stated that even when healthcare services are available, there are challenges including distance and transport. Other barriers include workforce shortages, poor health literacy, social stigma and privacy issues.
Mwenyangwe was speaking during a seminar hosted by a Netherlands-based asset and fund manager, the Kariken Investment Managers, earlier today. The event, which was a collaborative effort by the Kariken Group, Health Ministry and Urban and Rural Development Ministry, focused on the access and provision of healthcare in rural communities. The seminar also served as a platform to familiarize stakeholders in the health fraternity to what is called the capitation reimbursement model, which can be used to improve healthcare services in rural communities of Namibia.
The purpose of this engagement is to propose possible pilot projects in addition to those earlier identified at Erongo and Kavango West regions, while mapping areas of collaborations on new projects to be proposed in consultation with the Ministry of Health and Social Services, MURT, and other relevant stakeholders.
Kariken Group Business Development and Strategy Director Johan Carstens noted that universal healthcare coverage is the vision that everyone everywhere can access the healthcare services they need without facing financial hardship.
It includes the full range of essential health services spanning health promotion, prevention and treatment. It included the Sustainable Development Goals as target 3.8, which two indicators, 3.81, service coverage, and 3.82, financial protection. We will elaborate that a little bit further within the presentation. COVID-19 had put forward the significant inequalities and off-track progress towards universal health coverage. The past focus was strong towards addressing the pandemic, that essential maintenance on other healthcare services was neglected. It also emphasized the inadequate investment in the healthcare sector. Collectively, the private sector and the public sector has acknowledged that the healthcare system must scale up with adequate investments, specifically focusing on the integrated approach that is based on primary healthcare with a model of care that is focused on value-based payment systems and clinical outcomes. This will ensure that we leave no one behind in health. The overall goals by establishing a focus on primary health care is to become the gatekeeper between the acute facilities and the state to collectively establish how we can collaborate on achieving those goals.
Character fun is so much better at the lowest prices, only at PEP. Don't pay more than last year. Babies tops still $69.99 and even lower than before. Kids tops an incredible $89.99. Turn up the character fun with these awesome savings. Life's better with PEP.
According to the president of the Popular Democratic Movement, Mkhindi Vanani, institutions such as banks and insurance companies are over-profiteering from the public. Vanani said that those same businesses and financial institutions in Namibia, however, fail to assist the very same members of the public during crises such as the current floods in the north.
Vanani explained to Agri on One that the main issue with floods in Namibia is that they are recurring, yet every time the floods come, the country remains unprepared. Vanani said by now every village was supposed to have its own dam to mitigate the impacts of such disasters, and that such dams were supposed to be funded by both state and private sector.
My plea to the business community is informed by two factors. One, a humanitarian factor, and two, the business interest that these communities that are confronted by these calamities are people that have kept big businesses going. They have kept banks going. They have kept agricultural institutions going, housing companies. Everyone is kept alive and abreast by these communities, and at their greatest hour of need, it is just a humanitarian call that the business sector must really come to the aid of these people. If you look at the kind of infrastructural damage that I'm reading in papers, the houses that do not have electricity due to floods, the bedding, furniture, these people need to be aided. And PDM itself is also assessing how we can, as a movement, as official opposition, what is it that we can do? How many mattresses can we buy to some of these communities so that we can take them to higher lands, mitigate? So all I'm saying is that I'm calling upon the conscience of the business community to really come to the aid. And I would continue to advocate that this support that they must give, they can give it to the office of the Prime Minister.
Vanani added that where farming is concerned, local farmers lack the capacity to catch water, causing the destruction of produce, which ultimately brings farmers to their knees both financially and economically.
If you look at also the crops in the north, people that wanted to really make a sustainable livelihood cannot have any crops. So we are saying we should look at the institutions such as Nazarea to really, that farmers needs to be insured. Honorable Geoffrey Mulima, before he left Parliament, brought a very important motion from PDM saying that let's debate the importance of agricultural insurance to farmers to be able to mitigate, especially farmers in the Zambezi regions or Angwena or Shana that are really affected by these droughts and especially flooding in their areas. That if I planned 100 hectares of maize in Zambezi and the floods comes, my livelihood, I've invested 300,000 just to plant, yet when there's floods come, I get zero return, and as a farmer, nobody assists me. The very reason that I exist as a politician, I have been arguing ferociously over a number of years that if we don't spend 5% of our national GDP on agriculture, we will not stimulate jobs, we will not have food security. Government would rather spend 5.6% of our GDP on defense, and I've been making that argument ferociously, consistently. That is the very reason I exist, and I think current and future scholars would be able to articulate that Venani was one of those politicians that urged an agricultural revolution and modernization of agriculture. If we don't do that, this country will never get to industrialization.
Vanani said excess flood water should be captured to be used for future consumption and agriculture production. McHenry Vanani is set to visit the northern flood-affected areas in the coming days with the intent to evaluate the situation on the ground and get a clear stance on where assistance is most needed.
Welcome to this evening's edition of Business on One. I'm Joseph Shifeni. The Public Service Union of Namibia, PSUN, has accused the Namibia Wildlife Resorts, NWR, of failing to pay overtime to employees. The union's Secretary General Matthew Hakuria stated during a press conference held in Windhoek today that the state-owned entity committed in May last year to start with overtime payments as from November. However, up to date, there have been no payments made yet.
Hakuria said that NWR has failed to execute their own instructions and by doing so disregarded regulations stipulated in Labour Act. Hakuria stated that such conduct creates a negative perception about public administrations and the country at large.
On 24 May 2022, NWR issued an internal staff notice in which it undertook to commence overtime payment as from the 1st of November 2022. The 1st of November, ladies and gentlemen, has passed last year. To date, no overtime payment has been paid. They are not being given days off anymore. They are working overtime. They are not being paid. So as I'm addressing you now, NWR has not paid a single penny in overtime monies to any of its employees. They failed to honor their own internal notice issued in May 2022 and worst of all Section 17 of the Labour Act. This means that the NWR last honored the provisions of the Labour Act regarding overtime in June 2020 when they started with that collective agreement, the MOU that they signed with NAPU. That was the last time that they paid overtime to their workers. Namibia Wildlife Resorts continues to disregard social dialogue and does not consult workers with regard to payment for overtime worked, and maintains a code of silence, alternatively I don't care attitude on the matter. In the event where circumstances do not allow NWR to honor its obligation, they should, as a public entity, engage in social dialogue with the workers and their representatives to resolve the matter. Our members have decided not to perform any overtime work unless they are paid accordingly for November and December 2022. And the Public Service Union stands resolutely behind its members in full support.
News on One spoke to Nelson Ashipala, NWR spokesperson, in a telephonic interview, who indicated that the allegations are not factual, noting that overtime for November and December last year for most employees were settled yesterday.
I would like to highlight that NWR has never ever stepped back from a commitment or a promise which it has given to its employees. This is on top of salaries and wages. I don't know where these allegations of overtime not being paid, I don't know where it's coming from, but I would like to state that overtime, in fact, for November and December 2022 was paid yesterday, which was the 25th of January 2023. Now, obviously, there were a few of those that might have been missed, and this was basically just because of administrative issues. But just to highlight, this is maybe just a small portion, 5, 6, 7% of the employees that are not paid. And this only because either the overtime forms might have arrived late or something was not clear that needed to be clarified by human resource. So
Ashipala concluded that NWR never stepped back on its commitment and promise given to their employees, and that it prioritizes in engagements pertaining labor issues with recognized workers' representative bodies.
And that is all we have for you. Be sure to follow us on our social media pages for more on business news.
Get to Spar for 3 days of super deals and incredible savings across the store. Like 200-gram Dow Egberts coffee for just $89.99 and 450-gram Bogoma Wheat Bix for only $24.99. It's 3 days of incredible savings only at Spar.
Now we look at Comments Corner, your daily dose of comments from our social media pages. The Trade Union Congress of Namibia's Secretary-General Mahongora Kavihua has stated that the Namibia Senior Secondary Certificate Ordinary and Advanced Subsidiary poor results are an indication that the current education top management is failing the system. Sakaria agrees with Kavihua, stating that the previous education system was the best. Peters said if the minister is at fault, then she has to step down. According to Michael, the unionist only points fingers and criticizes others. Jack said if not one, then the entire team should be removed. Hiwete described the CAPE system as not so perfect and that the solution lies in the hands of all the stakeholders. That is all from Comments Corner. Be sure to post your comments on our social media pages for broadcast on News on One.
Enjoy these fantastic payday savings at Clicks until the 8th of February. Buy Clicks 2-ply toilet paper 18 rolls, 2 for $104.99 per pack and 1 for $114.99. Save 20% on Pampers Pants or Baby Dry Disposable Nappies Jumbo Pack, now $241.99 per pack. And buy Handy Andy Trigger Spray, 2 for $86. Clicks. Feel good, pay less.
Time now for Sport on One. There is some exciting news regarding athletics. Athletics Namibia is gearing up for its first Grand Prix competition for the year, which is slated to take place this coming Saturday at the coastal town of Swakopmund.
Sport on One caught up with Athletics Namibia President Edwin Namwaka, who says the registration is progressing well, with 5 athletics clubs from across the country already having confirmed their participation in the weekend's event.
It's our first meet of the year, so we are excited. I have received indication from our entry managers that the entries are looking good. Clubs, especially from Commerce and Erongo and Shana have already made their submissions. Other regions are still busy, clubs from other regions are still busy making their submissions. So we are excited about the competition, the first competition of the year. We encourage the community of Swakopmund to come and enjoy the talent on display and have fun with us.
Namwaka added that this year will be important for the upcoming Olympics slated to take place next year and encourage young athletes from different age groups to prepare for the mammoth event.
We encourage our athletes falling under the different categories, age categories, to try and make use of these opportunities to try and qualify. We have sent out the qualification standards for the under 18 and those by Confederation of African Athletics for the under 20. So the athletes must make use of the opportunity to try and meet those targets so that they can be able to test themselves against the African compatriots.
Meanwhile, Namwaka was also elected to serve as a council member on the Confederation of African Athletics last weekend at their 5th Congress in South Africa, Durban.
A new president from Eswatini, a vice president from Mozambique, and a few other council members for the southern region. So in the process of that Congress, the region also elects its representatives at the Council of the Confederation of African Athletics, and 3 representatives, and I managed to be elected for one of those positions together with a colleague from Zimbabwe and Madagascar.
Namwaka will serve as a Confederation of African Athletes Council member for 4 years.
That is all the sport news we had for you. Please stay tuned for the weather forecast. We have come to the end of tonight's edition of News on One. Don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms. From me, Maggie Forciero, and the rest of the team, till next time, it's good night.
The International University of Management, a Namibian university dedicated to its people's future. A hub of abundant opportunities.